everybody. I am Jesse Cofield. Welcome to The Sweat presented by the DraftKings Sportsbook. So much good betting content to get to today, and we're doing it with these two guys. We got VSiN's Josh Applebaum, DraftKings contributor Steve Buchanan. Guys, we're going to get your best bets, okay, for this week. But first, let's take a look at some trends that are going to headline Week 7, okay? It's all Christian McCaffrey here. It's all Christian McCaffrey. So we're talking C-Mac traded for the SF futures and how they've changed since the trade went down. So 49ers Super Bowl odds moved from plus 2,500 to plus 1,600. NFC odds plus 900 to plus 650. Division plus 120 to minus 105. Now, they were the favorite before, but obviously now it's no longer plus money here. And a footnote here, Christian McCaffrey plus 600 to win NFL Comeback Player of the Year. So before we get your best bets, guys, Josh, how does this trade make you view these 49ers futures? Obviously, they've moved a fair amount.
Yeah, so obviously these numbers are on the move. I think that tells you the books respect McCaffrey and his potential and what he can do. Obviously, this is a offensive weapon who can catch the ball, run the ball. You got to think Shanahan is really excited to bring this guy into the fold. The Super Bowl numbers have moved. A bunch of these numbers have moved in the favor basically of San Fran. I'm gonna look toward one in particular though, Jesse. Divisional odds. They were plus 120 to win that NFC West. Now they're minus 105. Right now you have three teams tied in first place, all 3-3. LA, Seattle, San Fran. But if you look at the adjusted win totals going in, or adjusted numbers for the rest of the year, win total of 10 juiced up over for San Fran. Rams are 9.5, juiced down to the under. Seattle 6.5. That tells me that kind of extrapolating what's going to happen for the rest of the year, odds makers are expecting San Fran to be the best team in that division. So I'll pounce on those divisional odds at minus 105 following this McCaffrey trade.
Steve, it seems like you agree with that.
Yeah, I was kind of going to go the same route here with the NFC West title here because nobody's really kind of removing themselves from the pack here. Like Josh mentioned there, three teams 3-3 coming into this one. You have the Cardinals who are 3-4. They're going nowhere. Cliff Kingsbury's going to go home. That's the only place they're going at this point. But I think this is such a strong spot for the Niners now to kind of really separate themselves from the pack with McCaffrey here. It really doesn't well for Jeff Wilson, who's been playing very well since the McCaffrey trade. Before the McCaffrey trade there, now he's going to be more of a complimentary role overall. But when you get someone like Christian McCaffrey, you have the opportunity to get him, you take that.
All right, guys, now let's get your best bets for today. Not to brag, but we've been handing out some winners. Steve, 5-0 after taking the Seahawks, and they won outright. Josh rode the Falcons' record against the spread to another win. Julian sweated out a win with a late Indy win. So look at us. Look at us. We're doing it, guys. So here's your chance to keep it going. Okay, best bets for Week 7. Josh, where are you going?
So I'm going to stay in that NFC West. Give me the Seattle Seahawks here, Jesse. They open at plus 7.5. This is one of the biggest line moves of the day. They're all the way down to plus 5. I mean, some shops, game day here, I always pay attention to game day movement. That's when the limits are raised by the books. The biggest bets come in. They're down to like 4.5 at some shops. This is one of those lines that has been hitting from the very start. Seattle, there's been no buyback whatsoever going the other way on the Chargers. And as a system-based guy, there's a lot of matches here for me on Seattle. If you look at dogs, sweet spot here, getting 3.5 or more. They're 38-19 against the spread, 67% this year. What I call a severe steam move here. So if you move at least 2 points in your favor, that's 7.5 all the way down to 4.5, 5. At least 2 points in your favor, that's 8-3 ATS this year. That's 61% ATS since 2019. Rest advantage, too. They played on the 16th. That was a short week here for the Chargers. And Chris Andrews, who's at VSiN and does a great job of talking about different systems and moves and money coming in, he really loves the spot where, if you're a favorite on 1 week and then you're coming back as a dog the next week, that could be a play there. Correlative betting, the total's falling. Line's moving to Seattle. I'm going to take Seattle here in the points. Give me Seattle plus 5.
All right, Steve, what about you? Best bet for Week 7?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Titans minus 2.5 going up against the Colts. I know that the Colts are getting back one of their best guys here in Jonathan Taylor. But if you remember, these two teams just met a couple of weeks ago, and the Titans did an extraordinary job of bottling up Jonathan Taylor, the whole run game as a whole. 21 carries for the Colts in that game, only 42 yards in total. That number goes even down more if you take the rushing yards, the -4 rushing yards that Matt Ryan had in that game, but I'll give him the 42. Okay, we'll just call it 42. But here's a couple interesting stats here. Matt Ryan, after a straight-up win, is only 3-9-1 against the spread since 2020. Coach Mike Vrabel is undefeated against the spread coming off a bye week since he took over the head coaching position for the Titans at 4-0 there as well. And then these two teams just met a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, the Titans were able to take that one here, but when you have a spread here that's under 3, I'm always going to be taking the better team here. The Titans are the better team at this point, too. And I think the Titans are going to get a lot of pressure on Matt Ryan, too, as well. He has been a fumble machine under center for the Colts here. I think they take this one minus 2.5.
All right, guys, I'm hearing that we actually have Julian's bet. He's taking Broncos plus 1.5 here.
Okay.
Can we get a reaction? Steve, you seemed okay.
Well, I mean, Julian's not here to face the music. Julian's not here to say this with his own lips. When you're taking the Broncos, you can easily say that when you're out on paternity leave and don't have to, nothing is going to come back at you. Even with the backup, can you trust the Broncos at this point? Because I can't. I can't at all.
I can't either. I think value-wise, I get it. This is actually a huge dog to fave line move. Denver open laying 3. We flipped all the way to now game day. Jets laying 2. So that's a huge move toward the Jets. If you tell me just from a buy low, gross contrarian play, take the home dog with an inflated line, I get it. But Jesse, this number keeps going to the Jets. Again, +3 to -2. That tells me that I'm worried. It's like 77% of bets on the Jets. I don't want to be with the public here, but I think the public might be right. And also that sharp money moving the line tells you that some respect and money's with them too. I actually like the Jets on the money line today.
All right, well, we'll be sure to destroy Julian if that doesn't play out, because he's not here to defend himself. All right, thank you, fellas. So we got all pros returning to the lineup, changing teams, more backup quarterbacks starting this week. We're going to find out what you guys are like sweating when we return from this break.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and this week, new customers can bet $5 on any team and pocket $200 in free bets if their moneyline bet wins. Download the app and use promo code SWEAT when you sign up.
By the DraftKings Sportsbook, I'm Jesse Cofield. We got VSiN's Josh Applebaum, DraftKings contributor Steve Buchanan. Fellas, let's get into it. What are you sweating? Okay, so there's got to be trends, injuries, storylines, stuff that's caught your attention that's maybe making you second guess. Sweat it out a little bit about some of your bets. So, McCaffrey, traded San Fran late in the week. We already talked about this a little bit. Line moved half a point, waiting to see if McCaffrey will play. He is going to play, but Steve, how involved is he going to be in the offense against the Chiefs? We don't really know, right?
Yeah, I mean, at least from what the 49ers are saying, they do have a package of plays that they have for McCaffrey. Obviously, when you get a golden nugget like McCaffrey into your lineup, you want to get him as involved as much as possible. But the trade happened Thursday night. I think it became official Friday afternoon, so you can't even imagine the amount of practice that he's gotten. I mean, McCaffrey's going to be able to do whatever he wants when he's on the field anyways, just because of the pure talent. But when you're looking at this here, I think this might be like the last realistic week that you can take a look at someone like Jeff Wilson, who's still going to be involved in this week here, because I can't imagine McCaffrey's going to be overly involved, especially from what we've heard out from Adam Schefter coming out of the 49ers camp here. So I'm not going too crazy on him. I bet he's used a lot in the red zone, but I'd be shocked if it's kind of more than that.
Yeah, Josh, do you feel similarly?
I feel similar. Yeah, and I think just go to the betting line here. This is one of the most interesting games of the week because this is just an automatic public take Kansas City Chiefs. They're getting like 85% of bets across the board. You know, again, Patrick Mahomes coming off a loss, playing the next week, it makes total sense. But if you look at the way this line is moved, I think the value here is on San Francisco. Ideally, if you got the 3, though, because this game opened, I think it was like Chiefs -1.5, got up to the key number of 3. You got a lot of respected money. Hit the +3 with San Fran, bring it back down to 2. But now we're seeing it back down to 1. So I know McCaffrey is the big kind of, low-hanging fruit, the big shiny object we're all thinking about. But they have a really good injury report here for San Francisco. You're going to get a lot of guys back. Trent Williams, your offensive tackle, Bosa, McClinchy. I mean, it's not just McCaffrey, it's these other guys as well. Jimmy G as a underdog, 16-4 against the spread, 80%. I jumped on the 3 earlier this week. It's hard to take it now. It's down to 1 or 2. But I like San Fran. Maybe look at a money line. I think it's a fishy public KC, but respected money seems to be going Niners.
All right, guys, Jonathan Taylor was a full participant at practice late in the week. Colts won their last 2 games without Taylor, and while the percentage of rushes versus passes were down, running back usage was up. Deion Jackson catching 14 balls over the last 2 weeks. Are you sweating Taylor's usage at all today, Josh?
I am a little bit. Again, coming back from an injury, running back, it's a tough position. You get pounded a ton here, get with the tackles and everything. So to me, I look at it overall, just the fact that Taylor's in, yet the line is not going back the other way to the Colts. It's going continually toward the Titans here. So from a betting angle, I really like your best bet here, Steve. That I would go money line or -2.5. But the angle, and pay attention to this if you're a bettor, teams coming off a bye week. We're now going to have to deal with this every single week. There's a huge distinction, favorites and dogs off a bye. Favorites cover the number off a bye around 57%. ATS the last decade, dogs off a bye, only like 50-50. And as you mentioned, Steve, Vrabel 4-0 ATS. I like this play to the Titans. The fact that Taylor's in, but the line didn't fall to the Colts tells me that the books not too concerned about that Taylor return.
Yeah, Steve, this plays into your best bet here.
Yeah, I mean, not only just, the type of injury, too, but with an ankle injury. What if he kind of re-aggravates that during that week? If there's any injury that you can re-aggravate, being in the position that you are, an ankle injury is one to worry about here, too, as well. And like I mentioned earlier, don't forget, the Titans absolutely bottled him up, the whole running back committee, when these two teams faced earlier this month. If there's a way to beat the Titans, it's not on the ground. It's through the air. They have one of the worst secondaries in the league, and that's why the Titans have faced the least amount of carries by opposing teams so far this season within the league there. So that tells you a lot there too as well, because don't remember, this Titans team was atrocious the first 2 weeks of the season, and they've still faced the least amount of carries so far. So if you're going to beat anybody, or excuse me, you're going to beat the Titans, it's going to be through the air. They're going to get Taylor back in, but this is not a good spot for him at all.
Yeah, so we talked all week about the Bucs and Packers being in trouble. They're both facing backup quarterbacks this week, so they should be able to get back on track, right? Baker Mayfield returned to practice, but Steve Wilkes named P.J. Walker the quarterback. We got Wentz out, Taylor Heineke going to get the start. Packers just 4.5-point favorites. Bucs big road favorites at -13.5. But which favorite should be sweating the cover? Steve, are either of these favorites in danger of not covering here?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to look at the Bucs here as huge road favorites. They're the first double-digit road favorite so far this season. You look at the numbers for Brady overall, he's excellent in these spots. He's gone 13-1 against the spread after losing as a 7-point favorite in his career. He's also 4-0 as a double-digit favorite as part of the Bucs. So those would point into the trend that Brady's going to cover in this spot too. But the Bucs have been awful against the spread, just like the Packers have, 2-4 against the spread. This is just such a huge number to cover. And I know the Panthers are coming into this game with whatever shell of their former selves that they are. P.J. Walker has more interceptions than he does passing touchdowns in his career. But do you really trust the Bucs at this rate to cover this monster spread on the road? I don't here. I think the Packers have a better chance of covering in this spot. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be playing like this for long. So look, I know it's hard to bet against Brady, especially when the numbers say you should be backing him. But with this number here, I just still can't with the Bucs in this one.
Josh, this number's gone down a tiny bit. Now it's Brady's just a 13-point favorite.
Yeah, and I think this is interesting because, number one, teams that don't cover, you'd think the public would be against them. But the fact that you have this name recognition, Brady, Rodgers, 2-4 ATS, you bet on these teams, you haven't been making any money. You bet against them, you have. But the public is not quitting two of the best quarterbacks here. So I'm going to go the other way. I'm actually a little more confident here in Tom Brady covering this number. Some books open as low as like -10 up to 13 now. So you have seen movement here toward Tom Brady. The thing that I would look at is what's kind of what Steve mentioned. This is a team that's almost like baseball trade deadline, like selling, getting rid of all your guys. You're seeing this now with the trade of McCaffrey. Obviously, this is a team that's really struggled here a ton. So the line is really no let up here toward Tampa. Call me crazy, and we've seen this before. Washington was in this spot a little bit against, I think it was Tennessee a couple weeks ago. They're like +3 to a pick 'em. But the line's going to Washington. It's hard to sweat the Commanders. They have not done very well. They don't cover a lot of numbers. But there's some respect for the Commanders here. This was Green Bay laying 5.5 for 5. Now, when we came into the studio today, it was 4.5. Now it's down to 4. Somebody seems to like Washington here. I'd be more confident in Brady covering than I would with Rodgers.
All right, another big storyline, Dak returning against the Lions. Josh, how are you approaching this one? First game back since week 1. Cowboys minus 6.5 point favorites.
Yeah, so what's notable to me, Jesse, is that obviously people are really excited. Dak's coming back here. Cooper Rush did a good job in his place, but this is a big public questionable. I'll let you take that one. But this was actually -7. Some books down to 6.5, Jesse. That's important because Dallas, big quote-unquote America's team, maybe not anymore, but they're getting like 75% of bets, yet they open laying 7 down to 6.5 now. Dan Campbell's actually covered quite a few numbers here. He's about 62% against the spread as a dog. It seems like an easy play Cowboys, but I'd look toward maybe the +7 if you can still find it toward Detroit.
All right, Steve. You had a little giggle there when you heard that.
Let's be fair. Cooper Rush came in. He was fine for the first couple of weeks. Then it was kind of like that meme when you have like the stallion on one end and then the child's drawing at the end. That's kind of how it ended up for Cooper Rush here. Here's the thing with Dak Prescott here. Going up against the Lions, obviously a team that is not strong defensively. They are also one of the worst teams at defending against the run. So is this a game where they really even are going to need Dak to be at 100% here when they can rely on the run game with Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard? Should be Tony Pollard as RB1. Just saying. But don't worry about that. But I think this is a fine spot to back the Cowboys in this spot here, going up against the Lions. I like the over in this game too as well. I think they're going to go up and down the field against each other in this game. But this is a great rejuvenation for this Cowboys offense, especially CeeDee Lamb. That's going to be a big boost for him too as well. So I do like Dak coming back here in this game.
All right, good stuff, guys. That is what we're sweating. But we got more bets that we love when Steve and Josh build a same-game parlay coming up next.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and this week, new customers can bet $5 on any team and pocket $200 in free bets if their moneyline bet wins. Download the app and use promo code SWEAT when you sign up.
Welcome back to The Sweat, presented by the DraftKings Sportsbook. Huge public money coming in on the Raiders, who basically have a must-win game in Houston. Check this out. 91% of the handle and 88% of the bets are on the Raiders at -300. But those odds don't exactly get us excited here on the DK Sportsbook, okay? Let's see what Josh and Steve can cook up over here to make a nice same-game parlay in this one.
So you mentioned here the Raiders, obviously minus 300 favorites. That don't get the juices flowing on a Sunday morning. Like, you don't want to go and lay the money down on minus 300. So we're going to do a little same game parlay, get you some plus odds for this game here. And Josh, I know you got something that you like here. We both got something here from both running backs that we like. So why don't we start you off here and let us know what you're going to take?
Yeah, so I think first off, we take a step back here. Minus 300, you're going to have to lay 300 to win 100. That's a big, hefty price here.
Right.
So I think one advantage, Steve, to the same game parlay, we can incorporate multiple bets, try to get a much better payout here. So taking that money down, that minus 300 down to incorporate it here, I'd be looking at Dameon Pierce. This is a running back, 4th-round pick from Florida who's been really impressive on the year. 86 carries, 412 yards, 4.8 yards per carry. He's been getting better every single week, Steve. I like him to go over his number here, so I'm going to add this. Over 64.5 rushing yards at minus 145 juice. That'll be my first leg, incorporating that into the Raiders money line. Steve, what are you going to add to this parlay?
So Josh Jacobs, what a story for this guy during the season. We didn't even know if this man was going to be on the field before the season began. Now he's become a focal point of this offense. He's been absolutely crushing it for the Raiders before they went on their bye here. So I'm going to go with a big number here. I'm going to go over 89.5 rushing yards. You're getting that one at plus 105. If you've seen what Jacobs has done in the 2 weeks prior to that bye week, 49 carries, just under 300 rushing yards in those games. He's been a massive focal point of this offense here. Love getting this at plus money. The Texans really struggle against the run. 650 yards allowed in total, over 5 yards per carry to opposing running backs thus far. So I think that's a really strong bet that you can take here. Now, we're going to add one more leg here. We're going to go to the anytime touchdown. So we're going to go back here, a couple clicks. Touchdown scores. Josh Jacobs to score a touchdown. What do you think about this one, Josh?
I like this one. And again, you mentioned one stat I think is really important here, Steve. If you look at that rush defense of Houston, you mentioned 165 yards a game allowed. That's 30th in the NFL. That's one of the worst in football here. When I look at anytime touchdown scores, first thing that jumps out to me, Steve, is if you have a minus number in front of your odds. Typically you're going to get a lot of plus money on these guys. So the fact that Jacobs at minus 135, that tells you he's pretty likely here to get in the end zone. So I'm with you, Steve. I'll be adding this to the parlay as well.
So get that all together. You're getting at plus 575. Just one more note here on Josh Jacobs. 16 red zone touches in total for him for the Raiders. That puts him amongst the top in the league, amongst any player here. So like that one a lot for him to get into the end zone. Plus 575. Now Jesse's going to tell you about a same game parlay that hit just last week.
Oh, yeah, I am. Well, there's a same game parlay we like. Okay, so hopefully you build a winning one today as well, like a customer that we had who is definitely pleased with the results from the Thursday night football game. Same game parlay, anytime touchdowns for Ingram, Shaheed, and Johnson. $50 turning into $15K. Very nice. All right, good stuff. We'll be back for our favorite specials on the DK Sportsbook right after this break. At the DraftKings Sportsbook, I'm Jesse Cofield, VSiN's Josh Applebaum, DraftKings contributor Steve Buchanan, and we are here to look at some Sunday specials on the DK Sportsbook. So last week, Steve gave you a nice plus 250 winner here, as every team in the 1 p.m. Eastern window scored a touchdown. So a bit of a sweat as the Bucks finally got one late in the fourth quarter, but it wouldn't be a Sunday without a little sweat, now would it? Also the name of our show, coincidentally. Now let's get this week's Sunday specials. So your favorite parlays, promos, fun stuff that you can find on the DK Sportsbook this week. Josh, what's it going to be?
Yeah, so I'm going to go to that game we talked about a second ago, Dallas and Detroit here. And what first jumped out to me, really high total in this one. It opened like 47.5. It's up to 49. It's your second highest total of the week, only trailing LA Chargers and Seattle. But I'm going to go toward Dak Prescott. I'm a little bit worried coming off an injury here that maybe he's a little bit rusty. I think Steve made a good point. If you're up big, do you run the ball and not have to throw it here? But one that jumped out to me is if you look at Dak Prescott in his return, 300 or more passing yards, 3 or more pass touchdowns, plus 650. I think there's some value here. Number one, I mentioned a little bit earlier, but the Detroit Lions cover a lot of numbers as dogs. They put up a lot of points. They give up a lot of points. Do we get more of a back and forth here where Dak does have to throw the ball? I'm looking toward that. Also, Detroit allowing the 7th most passing yards in the NFL. 34 points a game they're giving up. I'll take a shot on Dak having a big day in his return.
All right, Steve, your Sunday special.
Oh, yeah, we're just going to run back what we did last week. Why stray away from a winner when it can come to fruition once again? You're going to get it at 225 this time, so a little bit, we crushed them last week. They're going to try to make something back. Doesn't matter. We're going to get it this one. You look at that 1 o'clock window. There's really no team you have to worry about at least not scoring a touchdown. Maybe you could say Carolina is one of those teams. Fine, I can understand that there. But, we don't have to worry about, the Washington Commanders or the Chicago Bears, the Broncos in that 4 o'clock window. So good. Get all those junk teams out of this slate here. Now we can catch a winner in this one here. All teams to score a touchdown in this 1 p.m. window, plus 225. I like that one a lot, too. A lot of good offensive teams in this early window, so I think this is going to be another winner for the second straight week.
We'll see. All right, the Sunday Super Boost is Tyreek Hill to get 50-plus receiving yards and Steph Curry to score 20-plus points against the Kings. Boosted on the DK Sportsbook to plus 100. Are you taking it, Josh?
Ooh, I kind of like that. Obviously Steph Curry scoring a ton here. I would consider that play. I also think it's interesting, these cross-sport props here. You can combine different options. I think what's better is that's important. We don't have to just focus on one game. You can look at different sports. I would take a shot on that. It's Sunday. Let's have some fun.
Steve, are you going to have some fun?
Yeah, Tyreek Hill is the receiving yards leader in the NFL, and Steph Curry, yeah, sure.
Okay, why not? All right. Well, that's all the time we have for this week. Oh, boo. But actually, the good thing is we're going to keep this show going over on our DK social channels. I'm staying. Josh is staying. Steve is staying. Emerson Latzia is going to join the party. Jeff Ulrich will be here virtually, of course. So we're going to have everybody here on the social channels, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, etc. Find us on all those places. We will also be back on your TVs next Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So enjoy Week 7, everybody.
top of the morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Swap presented by DraftKings. I am Emerson Latzia. Josh Applebaum is here. We're going to do a lot of that thing you like, which is talking DFS. A lot of fantasy going to help you stuff some dudes inside your lineup to the Millie Maker. But right now, dude, we need to talk about fade or follow. That's what this fun game is called right now. So basically, are you going to ride with the public, or are you going to be like, no, public, you do your thing. I'm going to go the complete opposite way. So let's start with Seahawks. Seahawks +5 right now versus the Chargers. So it has 62%, so 70% of the handle now, 63% of the bets. You're going to fade or you're going to follow here?
So I got to follow this one, Emerson. This is my best bet today. So let's go Seattle here. I think when you're looking at these percentages, remember the 63% bets is what where the public is going. The handle is the overall amount of money. So even though you're getting a little more than half the tickets, Emerson, 70% of the handle tells me it's not just public, it's some respected money. And this is what I would call just a constant line move with no buyback at all. This open, Seahawks getting 7.5, now all the way down to 5. There's been no buy low, take Chargers, bring it back up to 6. No, it's continuing to go here towards Seattle. So I think this is kind of a pro and Joe play, Emerson. I'll take the points. I will be following this play.
And like the Chargers are good, we know that, but SoFi Stadium, as you and I were talking before the show, they have no home field advantage there either.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, they just moved here, and obviously the San Diego people are not happy that they left San Diego. So, you go in here. It's different on the West Coast, Emerson. Their sports aren't as crazy as we are with them. So you show up a little bit later, not as big of a home field advantage. Keep an eye out when you're betting the Chargers at home. It may not be the 3 points you're used to. It could be more like 1.5 points.
All right, let's go to the next one here. So Falcons, Bengals, over 47 for the total here. So 86% now of the money, 60% of the bets. Fade or follow the public here, dude?
So I'm going to go against this one. I'm going to fade this one. I do like the fact that you're getting more handle than bets. That tells me there are some respected bets here. But I think it's also, not whether you're just going to fade the number, but has it moved too much here? That's my concern. This total open, as high as 45.5. You're up to 47.5. If you're getting the over now, you're kind of getting the worst of it. There are going to be some winds here. Cincinnati going to blow winds blowing around 10 to 15 miles an hour. That's a good sign for an under. The Bengals are 5-1 to the under. If you bet it early, I'd play it.
Yeah.
Right now, it's moved too much.
Because I'm looking at this and I'm like, all right, the worst part of the Bengals defense, it's its rush defense. The best part of the Falcons offense is the run game, and in reverse here, Josh, worst part of the Falcons defense is the pass defense. Best part of the Bengals offense is the passing game here. So classic matchup, two teams which do something great against the opponent's weakness. So, a little nervous.
Yeah, a little nervous. What's the next one, Emerson? What do we got?
All right, next one. Jets, money line against the Broncos here. Fade or follow, my dude?
I'm going to follow it, but I have a lot of heartburn with this one here, Emerson.
There's no Russell Wilson.
There's no Wilson. I love that. And Brett Rippon's going to start here, so it seems like an obvious play. Seems too good to be true. That's when I get worried, when something seems too good to be true. You have heavy betting and dollars here on the Jets. I think the odds makers, the books, they're rooting for Denver, obviously, because they have so much liability here on the Jets. But I'll put a lot of faith into this line move. The fact that it was +3, you've hopped the fence, now you're -1, -2. Late movement's going to the Jets. If I lose against Rippon, against a Jets team that maybe not the SOJ, same old Jets, a little bit better this year, I'm going to take the Jets. I'll follow this.
I mean, I'm giving the Jets the coaching advantage. Robert Saleh over Nathaniel Hackett, who has looked maybe a wee bit lost at times. Last one here on the board. Titans, Colts, under 42, 85% of the handle, 46% of the bets. Got to expect a run-heavy game between these two, chewing up the clock between Taylor and Henry.
I'm with you, Emerson. Give me the under here. This is one thing to pay attention to. If you're a data-driven guy like me and you look at percentages, look at the bets, only 46%. That's less than half the tickets. That's basically telling you that the public is on the over, but yet only 46% bets, but 85% of the money. I love that. You want to look for discrepancies of at least 10% more money than bets. When you're at 40% almost, that tells me a lot of respected money on this under. Divisional unders this year in the NFL, they're 22-10, 69%. Emerson, I think we run the ball a lot in this game. Yep. I will go with the under here. I think it's a pretty sharp bet split.
First place in the AFC South is on the line when these two meet today until Jacksonville starts ripping off a few wins. It is time, everybody, to dip our toes now into the DFS game. So Death, Taxes, and DraftKings offering up a Millie Maker. Josh, out of the way, please. People need to see this. No, it's perfectly fine. $20 to get in here for the main slate today, everybody. And you know what? If you're successful in building the perfect lineup, you're going to win that $1 million. If you're like, oh my God, I need so much help right now figuring out who to roster, Jesse Cofield, Steve Buchanan, and Jeff Ulrich are here to help you out.
We don't know what Emerson's on this morning, but we'd all like some. All right, welcome back. Steve.
Thanks.
We will now welcome virtually for the first time Jeff Ulrich. All right, so like Emerson said, we're going to get your DFS plays for each position as we go through this Week 7 slate. So, Jeff, I see that at quarterback, you're going with Dak, 6,700. You think this is a good value play here? Detroit does have a weak rushing defense, so do you feel like that could maybe increase some usage for Dak on the ground there?
You're right. You're spot on, Jesse. Look, Dak Prescott, what was his injury? It was a thumb. It wasn't a knee or an ankle or anything. This is still a pretty high-end rushing quarterback. Detroit allows a lot of rush yards, but really this just comes down to Detroit just being a bad defense overall. I mean, I think Dak can get there in numerous ways. Again, he's coming off like a bit of a rest. He was still able to move around and stuff like that. And Detroit, bottom 5 yards per attempt, yards per rush, just yards per play. I think Dak Prescott comes in after a couple-week rest with CeeDee Lamb, and I think he puts up a big one. The Cowboys have a massive implied team total here. Dak Prescott, 6,700. I feel like a very safe play. I think he's got a very high ceiling today.
All right, Steve, you like Burrow, and he's only like $200 more expensive than Dak.
Yeah, only 6,900 for Joe Burrow in this game here. That Falcons secondary that's looked pretty good the first couple of weeks. Looking a little bit weak now. They're going up against some stiffer competition. You look at Tom Brady, had over 350 passing yards in that game 2 weeks ago. Jimmy G almost at the 300 passing yard spot going up against them a couple weeks ago. 2 touchdowns, 71% completion rate in that game as well. And Burrow's got a full complementary of weapons. This one here, T. Higgins is healthy. Jamar Chase was off the injury report after popping up there in the middle of the week. 6,900 going up against the Falcons. I think this is a great spot for the Bengals overall, but of course you got to take our guy Joey B.
All right, let's talk running backs. Jeff, a little surprised with your pick here.
Yeah, me too.
Really? I didn't know you were anti-Jacksonville, Jesse. I tell Emerson after the show. Travis Etienne, man, I absolutely love this spot for him. The Giants are one of the worst rush defenses in the league. What have we seen from the Jacksonville backfield? Okay, James Robinson's still getting some carries, but his snap count is going down. Etienne's is going up or staying steady. He has averaged 8 yards per carry over his last 2 games. He's averaging 13 yards per reception. I think we absolutely see Travis Etienne Jr. go off today. I think that he gets a few more touches. I think that if he gets going early, the Jags are gonna give him those touches, and I think the big plays are gonna be there. He's only 5,400. People forget Jags are home favorites here. Love this price. Love this play. Love this player right now.
All right, I'm sure Emerson's thrilled with that pick. Steve, you're paying up a little more.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs here. I think he's going to be one of the cash game locks you need to put in your lineup this week, going up against a putrid Texans run defense. And let's not forget, Josh Jacobs was somebody who didn't even know if he was going to be taking the field on a week-to-week basis. Now he's been one of the focal points of this offense. You look at the last 2 weeks, 49 carries, 298 yards, 3 touchdowns, 10 receptions, 70 yards on those receptions here. He has been an animal here, and now he has one of the best matchups this week going up against the Houston Texans. 6,500 for him here. He still seems egregiously mispriced. I don't know how he's still in this $6K range. So getting him at this price point, this is going to be the last week you get him in this price point here. Again, the ownership is going to be here, but if you're making a cash lineup today, this is going to be one of your first locks when you're putting in the running back position.
All right, wide receivers. Jeff, you're going with Chris Godwin. He's 6,300 in a game where the Bucs are heavy favorites.
Much like Steve taking what's given to him at running back, I'm just going to take what's given to me here with Godwin. He's only 6,300. His price didn't go up last week. He had 12 targets. He's out-targeted Mike Evans, 18 to 12 over the last 2 games. Carolina's secondary stinks. The Bucs need a get-right spot. This is just Tom Brady. He's going to get Chris Godwin going today. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw 100 yards and a touchdown. I wouldn't be shocked if Tampa just decided to drop 40 because they need to feel good about themselves again. And Chris Godwin, 6,300 is way too cheap. You just keep rostering him.
All right, who are you rostering at wide receiver, Steve?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown at 7,100. I think this is somebody we should be talking about more this week, coming back from that injury there. He's going to be the wide receiver 1, of course, for the Lions this week, but the matchup he has in coverage is one of the best ones on the week here, going up against Jordan Lewis, who's allowing an 84% reception rate on the 25 times that he's been targeted against. 199 total yards, 135 of those came after the catch. So with St. Brown back in the mix here, no DeAndre Swift potentially in this game too as well. Jamal Williams is going to get his touches, don't get me wrong, but Amon-Ra St. Brown has been the guy that Goff has been going to in these situations here. I think this is going to be a very high-scoring game against the Dallas Cowboys. So in that type of game environment, in that type of situation, I have no issues with paying up for him at 7,100 at the wide receiver spot.
All right, Jeff, you like David Njoku for your tight end pick. Browns are like near touchdown underdogs in this spot.
Yeah, so we should get a few more Jacoby Brissett dropbacks. Jacoby Brissett loves targeting Njoku. Njoku's 6th in targets among all tight ends. And look, I mean, the Ravens linebackers just do not cover the middle of the field well. Hayden Hurst, 653 and a touchdown. Daniel Bellinger, 538 and a touchdown. Those are the last two tight ends that have faced the Ravens. David Njoku is better than both those guys. He's basically like the primary weapon in this Browns offense. I think he's going really under the radar today. It's a really good matchup for him.
Steve, your tight end, real cheap.
You got to be going cheap at tight end this week.
Real
I mean,
cheap.
wide receiver is very deep. The running back is very cheap here. There's a number of tight ends you can go to that are obviously cheap here. But I'm going to go with Cade Otton with the Buccaneers here. This is going to be the second game now that we've seen him play without Cam Brate. When he was out, Brate, that last game, he had 7 targets in that one, caught 6 of them for 43 yards. When you're priced at 2,700, you don't need to do much to pay off your salary here. So obviously, the Buccaneers are massive favorites. Thank you. That's the word there. Favorites against the Panthers here, so maybe they won't need to throw as much as they need to, but at that price point, Cade Otton, 2,700, like I said, doesn't need to do much. If he hits pay dirt, then you got a gold mine there with him here at 2,700.
All right, nice work, fellas. So Jeff likes the Jags this week, but let's see what Giants defensive captain Julian Love has to say about that. So here he is talking with Mike Golick Jr. about New York's hot start to the year.
Has that been the biggest change up this year? Is all of a sudden you're starting to feel like, oh, we are like a New York football team out here balling now?
Yeah, like, they told us, our player development people, when we first got out here, like the whole rookie spiel, that, listen, as soon as you think you're big time, understand that this city has 2 of every major sport. And so, like, 2 teams of every major sport. And then when you think about it, you're like, oh, yeah, like, we have athletes all around us. So this team respects winning, or this city respects winning, and so we're getting a little more respect nowadays. Thankfully, it's been a grind the past few years, but this year there's definitely some buzz around the community.
No, it's wild. You and the Jets are doing it at the same time. Like, this is like I always say in like a foursome when you're playing a scramble in golf. If you hit 2 great shots off the tee in the same group, it's like, oh, we couldn't stagger this by years. You got it going full-throated right now inside that building.
Yeah, we had one dual practice with the Jets, and I'm looking at them like, they have some talent. They're like a talented team. They have some guys. They have some size. And so, yeah, it's good to see them doing their thing, obviously. And us, we've just been a gritty group. We've been really gritty.
Yeah. Look, you said you looked at that Jets team and saw that. Was there a moment like this offseason when you looked at your team and started to realize something felt different than what you'd had in the past?
Like, I feel like these past 2 years, I feel like you look around, you're like, we have talent. Like, that's not a question. Like, there's talented guys in this team. It's always just been a matter of our talented guys, like our best players, playing well. And that can be seen in a lot of ways. But for me, like, I'm captain this year. I feel like I'm one of the most talented guys on the team, and I know I got to chip my shoulder to I got to perform. I got to be doing my thing. And so that's what it's taken. All of our leaders have been balling.
You know where to find Gojo by now. And if you don't, it's right here on the DK YouTube page, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Listen every single weekday to a new episode. Speaking of podcasts, Unreasonable Odds co-host Steve Buchanan, who's really carrying the show these days, has returned to tell us which quarterbacks are feeling the pressure. So which ones will get better the rest of the way, and which signal callers will get worse and crumble under the pressure. Let's start with the guy who's been in the headlines a lot, Tom Brady. So if this season continues like the way it's been going, he's on pace for just 23 touchdowns. Will he get back to his old self, or is this the new normal, Steve?
Yeah, I think it's really difficult to say at this point too, but one thing that Tampa does have in their favor is they have one of the easiest remaining schedules on the docket here. The combined winning percentage of the teams that they have left to play is at 397. So there's a lot of good opportunities here for Tampa to kind of put up these points, and that could start here this week going up against the Carolina Panthers. Now, while there may be points to be scored, maybe they're coming from defensively because of PJ Walker at the start here for the Panthers here, but I do think Tom Brady gets back on track here. They've had a lot of injuries that they've been dealing with too as well, but at this point here, I mean, really, without the exception of Cam Brate, they really have all of their weapons at his disposal at this rate. So I think those numbers start to continue to go up here, especially with the remaining schedule that they have.
All right, another future Hall of Famer who's really struggling is Aaron Rodgers. So he's on pace for nearly 500 yards fewer than his 17-game career average. Should we expect a rebound this week and then consequently the rest of the season?
Can you name 2 wide receivers on the Packers?
No.
Yeah, neither can most people. And that's probably why this number is trailing so under at this point. Obviously, Rodgers is also dealing, I think it was a finger injury that he has that's going on right now too as well. But, when you don't give him any weapons to throw to, then obviously this type of production, or should I say lack of production, is bound to happen here. So I'm not surprised that Rodgers is flying way under his average here. And I think that's going to continue all throughout the season as well. No one has really emerged in that offense to be his go-to guy. I mean, his go-to guy really feels like someone like Aaron Jones has been carrying the ball more than he's catching the ball. So I think this is going to continue for Aaron Rodgers. Unfortunately, this Packers team just feels like they're in a lot of trouble right now.
Sammy Watkins is officially active today.
That doesn't do much for me.
Okay, great, cool. That's what I thought. All right, this one makes me laugh. Russell Wilson has been ordering out instead of cooking this year.
Oh, good, nice.
His 83.4 quarterback rating is 18 points lower than his career average. He's out today versus the Jets, and the line only moved half a point.
That's brutal.
I mean, are you fading Russ the rest of the season here, Steve?
I mean, it just feels like it's a lost cause, right?
Yeah.
Like it just, I mean, I think a hot take would be that I'd be like, no, Russell Wilson is going to do better. We're going to see the real Russell Wilson. But, just a lot of questionable throws that he's been making. It feels like he's been constantly under pressure, too, as well, which is no different than when he was with the Seahawks, but he just hasn't been able to hit his guys here. And there's so many talented playmakers on that team that you would expect something more. Like Jerry Jeudy has been almost a non-factor all season long. His primary target has been Cortland Sutton, but he hasn't been able to get downfield like he has either. So I'm fading, obviously, Russell Wilson for the rest of the year. It just does not feel like things are clicking here in Denver.
Or how about Matt Stafford, on pace for just 17 touchdowns and 23 interceptions. He averages 30 and 15 for his career. Is he going to turn it around this year, Steve?
Yeah, it's been a really rough start for Stafford. But, I mean, to be fair, the problem is that he's constantly under pressure. He's always under duress, it feels like, and that's really kind of gone into his play here. The only advantage that he does have is he does have Cooper Kupp, and Cooper Kupp on his own can make up a lot of these numbers, right? He's a yards after the catch machine. He's somebody they target a lot in the red zone, but they've also been running a lot more in the red zone too as well. So I think this is just a spot where Stafford has a really flimsy offensive line, and when that type of stuff happens, you just have to get the ball out quick, and that's why we're seeing some of the stats that we're getting from him here. Again, they're also a team that has a fairly reasonable schedule the rest of the way, so there could be an opportunity for them to turn it around, but nothing is going to happen if they can't protect him in the pocket, and he's constantly having to run out of it.
All right, Steve, thank you for the help. We have Emerson Latzia standing by.
Great.
And we all know he's feeling the pressure right now because he's at the touch screen.
Yeah.
And he almost always messes that up.
It's very true. It is very true, but Jeff Ulrich is joining me virtually, so I do have somebody to blame when things do go off the rails here a little bit. Here for some primetime picks, Jeff, a tradition unlike any other with you on Sunday. So we'll look at some Sunday Night Football. We'll look at some Monday Night Football. Let's start with tonight. Let's start with the Dolphins hosting the Steelers. So Tua is back from his scary concussion battle here, dude. But Kenny Pickett also back, clear from concussion protocol. Who is your captain going to be tonight?
Yeah, I'm actually going to fade the passing games here. Not necessarily fade it. I mean, you should play some of the receivers and the quarterbacks in the flex. But for the captain, I think Najee Harris is a very good contrarian play. Let's not forget, in DraftKings Big Contest, we're going up against hundreds of thousands of people if you want a shot at that top prize. Yep. Najee Harris, I think, is going to get good run in this game. This is a player who's going up against the Miami defense. What are the Steelers going to try and do? They're going to try and limit Kenny Pickett a bit, give him protection coming off the concussion. Harris, I think, can get to Miami, who's, again, the last couple weeks, they've allowed some decent yardage on the ground. I think it's a spot where Harris, as a captain, makes a lot of sense. Everyone's going to be looking to the receivers, but there's, it's hard to know which receiver from Pittsburgh to go with. Let's go with Najee Harris as our captain here.
Yeah, only one game this season. He's cleared 14 DK fantasy points, so maybe that'll change tonight. What about your bet? What about your bet for tonight's game between the Dolphins and the Steelers?
And look, if I like Najee Harris to get it going on the ground, I think going with some overs on the Miami passing game, which is going up against a very weak Pittsburgh secondary, makes sense too. Tua Tagovailoa, 249.5 last time I looked for passing yardage. Let's go over there. And then also you can go to the alt line here. Tua for 300 plus yards is plus 170. I really think Mike McDaniels in this offense gets going again. We've seen it be very efficient. Tua put up 270 yards in week 1 against the Patriots, throwing like well under 30 times. I think you see a similar performance, but with a few more pass attempts. I think Tua hits his over props tonight in the passing game.
And his 2 wide receivers, the Yak Kings, man, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, also for Pittsburgh's 6 opponents have logged at least 250 plus passing yards, including the Jets and the Patriots. And speaking of the Patriots here, to Monday night we go, baby. Let's go. It looks gross on paper, I'm not going to lie, but don't worry. Be Zappy. Mac Jones expected to return under center, but Bailey Zappi at least made things interesting, winning his 2 starts. 73% completion percentage. Like, that's impressive, but you're going with the quarterback on the other side of this one for your captain against New England's top 10 scoring defense. Is that correct?
Gotta do it. Look, I mean, the Patriots' little run here is nice, but I do feel like we've reached a point where people are just a little bit too high on them. I think that the Bears are definitely scrappy enough. And you know what? Justin Fields absolutely getting hammered back there, but he's played well. He's handling what is just a disastrous situation pretty well. 88 yards last week against Washington. The game was ugly. Guess what? They should have won it because Justin Fields put a perfect throw up into the end zone at the end of the game that would have won the game and given him even more DraftKings points. It would have gone over 20 DraftKings points. I think Justin Fields is the captain's play here. A lot of people are going to be looking to Zappy or probably Ramondre Stevenson. They're not going to be giving the Bears much of a chance. Justin Fields is the dual threat quarterback. Again, he's going to put the game in his hands here, and I think this is a winnable game for him. I think he can put up a similar type of performance or more. Maybe Darnell Mooney finally figures out how to squeeze the ball and we get over 20 points. Give me Justin Fields for the captain at 15-6.
I mean, the Patriots did allow Jacoby Brissett to pass for nearly 270 yards with a touchdown and a pick last time out. I know you're high on the Bears. It sounds like it. So your best bet is going to be on that side as well?
Yeah, I mean, high on the Bears. I'm lukewarm on the Bears. Yeah, how can you be that high on the Bears? They're not that good a team. But I do think this is a spot where they can cover.
Okay.
Again, Justin Fields is going to be able to move the ball with his feet. You can run on the Patriots a little bit. I think people are just, again, romanticizing this defense just a little too bit. And the Bears aren't that bad against the run. So I think Justin Fields is going to be able to cover the 8 points. I even think the Bears as a money line target at plus 280 is interesting. And then for a player prop from this game, Darnell Mooney, over 40.5 receiving yards. Mooney's gone over this in 2 games. I think he's got a very winnable matchup in the secondary. The Patriots have given up some big plays to speedy wide receivers. I really like Mooney as a prop target, especially the over.
Chicago averaging 15.5 points per game. Should be an exciting one on Monday night in Foxborough, Jeff.
We're going to get a touchdown.
Hang out. We're going to need your hot take coming up after this break because right now we're going to bring you the best of the sweat, and then it's our final block of the show. Oh, ignite the ignitions.
This week on The Sweat.
You're coming in hot today. Are you a little upset because of the Jags kind of fell off?
I'm absolutely miserable and I'm dead inside. Yes.
These are the top fantasy scorers from Monday.
Yeah.
Those are the top scorers.
Did the Bills do enough here? Have they done enough? Just have you pencil them in for the Super Bowl?
They've done enough. We've been penciling this team in for the Super Bowl since week 1.
No one is close to this team. Unless there's some massive injury, there's no way that they don't win the Super Bowl.
Which team are you more concerned about right now? The Packers or the Bucks?
I think we gave them both the benefit of the doubt saying, well, it's Aaron Rodgers, it's Tom Brady, and they'll be able to pull their teams out of the fire. I'm not so sure.
Tom Brady and Marcus Mariota, are you kidding me? Tied for the division lead? What's your level of concern with the Bucks?
I'll play the game and we can talk about Tom Brady.
Okay.
Maybe he's washed up. Maybe he's dust. Maybe he finally has hit the cliff 15 years after he originally hit the cliff.
Guarantee.
Okay.
I'm putting the Jared Carabas seal of guarantee.
I can feel that.
On the New York Yankees. And listen, there's no way they lose this game today.
It is like Christmas morning for NBA fans because it is opening night.
LeBron James, ever the content giver, already starting off in rare form. Telling everyone right off the bat, yeah, we're not really built to be a great shooting team, so don't expect that from us.
It's just all drama. The offseason has been all drama and off-court drama, and it makes you kind of wonder, does the NBA really prefer it this way? And of course they do, because whatever it takes to remain in headlines.
Draymond Green, the villain of the NBA, leaning in after punching his own teammate in brothers fight. No, he leaned in. I don't punch my brother like that. He came to the arena in a green suit, looking like chlorophyll.
Chlorophyll, more like borophyll. Hey, hey, Mike, have you ever punched Brandon in the face? And Brandon, have you ever punched Mike in the face? Have you guys ever fought?
No, we've never fought because that would go really poorly for me. Brandon's like one of the most naturally strong people I've ever met in my life.
I see that relationship between you and Yankees fans is at an all-time high once again on Twitter.
If I have to go to the Bronx this weekend, this might be the last. Hey, it's been a pleasure working.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've had a really good time.
Awesome.
Make sure I am in your will.
Yeah,
I would
no
love
doubt.
one of the 12 TVs on your wall.
Sure, you can have them all.
That's fantastic.
I don't need them.
All right, back for our final block of the show. Squeezing everybody in here nice and tight. Steve, Josh, Jesse, Emerson, Jeff is here virtually to share once again hot takes. This is a segment that Steve was very vocal about before the show. You said how much you hated it.
That's not true.
So we're going to let you go last. Let's go with Jeff. Jeff, what is your hot take today, baby?
Let the crybaby go last, Steve, with his cold takes that he can't get hot enough. I don't know. Travis Etienne is my player to target today. We have a player prop up on the DraftKings Sportsbook, plus 2,500 for Travis Etienne to go over 100 rush yards, over 25 receiving yards. Again, the Giants, they've traveled a lot. Now they got to go to Florida, the swamp in Jacksonville. They have a terrible rush defense. Etienne has looked so good. I think he's going to put up a monster game, and I think he's going to hit that player prop for people who take it on DraftKings.
Oh man.
All right, Giants are due for a letdown. Aren't they, Josh?
Yeah, Josh, that plays into your take here. What do we think?
Yeah, this is my hot take, and I think if you just look at it and just cover up the names of the teams, this isn't a very hot take. The team's favored by 3. They're at home, makes total sense. But it's a hot take, I think, based on public perception and kind of the thought process of this just makes no sense what's going on here, because you look at the Giants, they're 5-1 on the year, 5-1 ATS, they've won 3 straight. So why on earth are the Giants getting points? Why are they getting 3 points? Why are the Jaguars laying 3 points when they're just 2-4? They've lost 3 straight. This is kind of what I would look at as the books taking a position on a team. They put out this -3 Jaguars to start, knowing that they'd get a flood of Giants bets here. The Giants are getting like 80% of bets overall, but despite that lopsided betting, they're not down to 2.5 or 2. It stayed -3. Some books are juiced up, like it may even go to 3.5. One thing I learned early on, guys, as a bettor, if it doesn't make sense, don't just play it because you think you're smarter than the books. Giants may win and cover, but this tells me that it's a pretty sharp fade the trendy dog play on the Jags. I'm going to moneyline the Jags. A little bit more expensive, -170, but just hashtag win the game here.
They're going to lean on those versatile running backs like Travis Etienne to grind out this win. Love it. Bukes. You got a hot take? Did you end up putting one together?
Yeah, I begrudgingly, I put one together. I'm going to take Alec Pierce to go over 100 receiving yards against the Titans this week. This is somebody who's continuously seeing his playing time increase. I mean, back on week 3, he was playing on 45% of the snaps as of early as last week, up to 65%. He should be playing. He should be the wide receiver to really over Paris Campbell at this point here. But I think this is a monster game for him here going up against the Titans, who have been one of the worst secondaries in the league. I think this is a great spot for him overall. If you're playing from DFS, very cheap too, 4,600. This is a smash spot for Pierce. He goes over 100 receiving yards.
All right, good stuff, guys. Emerson, relax. Yeah, that's a show. That's going to do it for our Week 7 edition of The Sweat. Thank you, our virtual Jeff Ulrich. We're going to be back here next Sunday starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You can also catch us every day at 11 a.m. talking all the sports.
That's where the best of The Sweat comes from, that Billy puts together, which is absolutely phenomenal.
So check us out tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. on DK Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, all of the places.
Overreaction Monday.
But enjoy the games.